Hello. This is a hypnosis video to free you of the curse of having foreign language anxiety, which is very common and very misunderstood. Now, every single part of this video is hypnotic. I am already starting the hypnosis right now. Hypnosis is not what you think it is, okay? Hypnosis is magic, and the magic has begun. So get ready, because I'm about to wipe away all of your foreign language anxiety. When suddenly you have the opportunity to use the language with a native speaker, and it's like your brain just shuts down and you feel super mega cringe and you just can't do it. Or you try a little bit and then you see that there's something weird going on. It's not the vibe. The other person doesn't like it. And then you just give up completely. We are going to solve that right here, right now, so that you are not ever going to regret ever again. Like, wow, look at all those missed opportunities where I could have been speaking better or speaking at all. But for some reason, I'm not doing it, okay? Now, the common sense answer to this problem that people will tell you is, oh, you're being a perfectionist. It doesn't matter. Nobody cares if you mess up. And does that actually help? No. Because the words are not matching the reality. It is a burden to other people when you are not speaking perfectly. When you're a foreigner, when your language skill is not up to, even if you're perfect and you just have an accent, or if you're not so perfect and still in the learning, it's a burden to other people. They even, no matter what they tell you, no, it's fine. Why are you worried about that? If you're an empathic, sensitive person, you will pick up every single amount of discomfort and burdenness that you are bringing to other people by speaking their language to them. And this is where it gets misunderstood. They think, or the common sense here is like, well, you're just a perfectionist. You don't want to be embarrassed and like, hurt your face, whatever they say, like hurt your reputation in a way by not speaking the language perfectly. And they're like, it's natural for a foreigner to not speak perfectly. That's not the thing though, actually. It's actually quite the opposite, where you are such a generous person that you don't want to burden the other person so much by making mistakes. It's not even about how you look, it's how they look, not being able to have any sort of grace about it. And whether this applies to every single person doesn't matter, because you've already at this point in your life been conditioned to think that you not speaking perfectly is a great burden on people that they are not going to handle with grace, and you want to save their face by not even putting them in that situation. So that's why it's easier to talk to certain people in the other language than in the language that you're learning than other people. So for example, if it's some old lady who does not speak any other language, you only have her native language to speak with her, usually that's going to be a lot easier because there's no other choice, and you feel like you are doing her a favor. Whereas someone who, for example, you're an immigrant or expat, whatever you call it, and you move to their country and you're a native English speaker and they're okay at English, they're good enough. And even if your language skill and their language kind of beats theirs, if they're giving the vibe that they want to speak English, you'll just oblige to that. If they're annoyed by you speaking their native language, even though it's so important to your life that you get practice, that you learn how to speak, and you will like cuck your needs to theirs. And where does this come from? It comes from, at some point in your life, you were taught and conditioned to think that you don't deserve anything from anyone. And now this is being taken away from you. I have the power to take this away from you. You are being reprogrammed. When you sleep tonight or in the following days, if you are resonating with this video, you will have some dreams, whether you remember them or not. And the trauma will be integrated in your brain so that you no longer feel bad about being a burden. You can accept the fact that you are a burden to other people and not care about them. Back when I was about 12 years old, I started learning Italian, and I had this dual language book with lots of old stories and excerpts with Italian on one side and English on the other. And I was reading that at home, and my mom saw me, and she just came up to me and said, "Wow, you think you're so smart," like a really nasty tone. And another time I was at work, I was actually a clown in a haunted maze thing for Halloween. And one of these, I don't know what to call them, roadie guys who follows the haunted house maze wherever it goes, who was working with us. And he was a very rough guy. And I was reading this German novel, The Sandman, this like horror novel, while I was waiting for my makeup to get done. And he basically did the same thing as my mom. And he's like, "Oh, you think you're so smart reading in here?" Like in a really nasty tone, as if I'm hurting someone by doing that. And the fact is, you will hurt a lot of people when you study and learn, when you are openly intelligence mogging them. It really cuts deep with some people. And so over time, you will be conditioned to hide your intelligence, to avoid their pain, because you're such an empath that when they feel this electric shock in their head, when they see someone excelling and being superior to them, it's like real physical pain to them. And then they do whatever they can with it. Usually they try to unload it off onto you. And if you are an empath, which most very intelligent people are way more sensitive to what's going on in the astral plane, right? You will absorb this if you do not have the proper magical protection against it, which I'm giving you right now, okay? Through your connection, association with me, with this topic, the next time this situation comes up, you will connect on the astral plane to me. And because I am a trained magician, trained hypnotist, I will be able to absorb all of those attacks for you and dispose of them for you, because I don't have any emotional attachment to them per se. Now, some people may be thinking, isn't this hypersensitivity and susceptibility to the psychic attacks over the astral plane, aren't they a sign of weakness and a sign like mental weakness, blah blah blah? It's actually it's quite the opposite here. Well, confirmation, snap. It's a sign of great strength. It's a great gift, in fact, both in the domain of social hierarchy, social standing, interpersonal relationships, to be this sensitive, to be this empathetic and susceptible to psychic attacks. Not only in interpersonal relationships, in power struggles, power games, but also in language mastery itself. Have you ever noticed that the people who are like dull to psychic attacks of this, burdening other people, they don't care that their language skills are just completely broken. They will just yada, 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 yada. And you see how freely they're doing this, and you think, wow, that's so strong. Like, I wish I could just be strong and not give a single F like that. But not to, insult these people, I love the diversity of people's skills and stuff, but this is not the type of person who ever masters a language to the point that they are, you know, indistinguishable from native speakers or even, easy to listen to at all. It's the people who are way more sensitive, who are imitating native speakers. And how you imitate is that your mirror neurons are very actively hyperactive in your mind, and that is why you are susceptible to more psychic attacks. But that is also how your brain will learn how to actually imitate the intonation, the mannerisms, the way of communicating that native speakers have if you are a sensitive, empathetic person. And that is the paradox here. People who are actually naturally talented at languages will have a harder time unless they get their spiritual game up and their spiritual protection up. And healers need healers, and I'm your healer now. But so when you imitate native speakers, actually, instead of just being in your own world doing rote memorization and somehow logically fitting the pieces of the language together, that takes a lot more time, and you never actually get that good at the language compared to people who can tap into the minds of the native speakers. So you can say it's a double-edged sword in a way. However, if you just tap the fuck into me right now, then you will be able to make the maximum use of your latent talents. And after you watch this video, after it processes in your mind and you sleep, you will never run into this situation again where you are faced with a native speaker and you really want to speak their language, but your mind freezes up. Or maybe not even a native speaker, but you have the chance to speak that target language and you freeze up, you feel cringe, you feel bad about it, because the next time that situation comes up and those feelings crop up, you will remember me, you will remember my voice, you will remember my eyes, and you will remember these words. Time to study people. So you will say in your mind, sorry, the camera's crazy today. You will say in your mind, time to study people. Instead of thinking of it as a language exercise, you will say time to study people. Time to study how they react to you not being perfect. Because it's interesting and there's nothing scary about it. You've been conditioned to feel fear in association with this, but now that fear is being sucked out of you. No diddy. And you will just think time to study other people. And then you'll be way too curious and fascinated by how people will react to your mistakes. Then you will be susceptible to, it's like a barrier to you picking up on them having little spasm attacks or feeling burdened or any sort of negative feelings that they get from you speaking the language. You will be completely protected from that, so that you will be able to speak. Time to study people, and then it'll just be an experiment. And it'll be fun every time. And even if you move to another country, you're living with a native speaker, and yet that native speaker is just always speaking to you in English, always speaking to you in your native language, and you never get practice with that language because you're like, oh, they're gonna think I'm cringe, they're gonna think differently about me. When I'm become a different personality speaking this other language, I'm not the person that they thought I was. It's going to be all cringe and stuff. For those specific situations where you usually speak to someone in one language, but then you want to switch over to the language you're not really comfortable in, then you will remember this video and just say the words. Whoever isn't with me is against me. Yeah, it sounds like Mussolini kind of, okay? It's what I get from the ether. I just got this message. Whoever isn't with me is against me. Say that to yourself. If your partner, if one of your good friends is just, it seems like they're very burdened by trying to help you learn the language. You just think, whoever isn't with me is against me. And then you won't care about being this new personality who's a bit unsure in the target language. And you're not gonna care about not being who they, want you to be. That sort of thing. If they love you, they love you. If they don't, they don't. And you will be able to realize that it's a blessing if they can expose themselves as someone who doesn't love this side of you, because knowledge is power. And so, there you have it. 3, 2,